Am I the a-hole for choosing my stepmom over my biological mom? I'm 24 female and I just bought a new house. My dad and stepmom contributed too for the house and it looks perfect. My mom left me and my dad when I was 5 because my dad couldn't earn much. A year later, he remarried to my stepmom, Jane. She wasn't what I thought stepmoms would be. She was kind of really talented. I don't have other siblings or stepsisters, so she basically raised me as her own daughter. She helped through everything, financially too. My biological mom, Karen, came for me when I was 16. I had grown a hatred for her as she abandoned me, but she still was invited to events like my birthday or Christmas. She also has a stepdaughter a few years younger than me. So when I bought a new house, I expected my stepmom to move in with me, as it was closer to the hospital she has to go every 3 months. Diabetes. Before I could move in, my mom asked me how many rooms were there. I told her how many were there, and she said she and her stepdaughter would move in a week later to choose the rooms. I told her no, as Jane was moving in with me, and it caused a big argument between us. She included Jane and my dad, and said how Jane brainwashed me and created chaos between mother and daughter. She yelled at me for being raised pathetically and said, "I gave birth to you, so you owe me a lot." Her stepdaughter called me too and said I was being a witch for not giving her a place to stay. Jane and I moved in 3 days ago, but we still get calls from them telling me to kick Jane out or Karen won't see me again. I don't think I am, but am I the a-hole? Edit. Why the r/want to move in my house? 1. Jane has diabetes appointment every 3 months, and my dad's place is nearly a 2-hour flight plus hotel. Living with me can reduce the cost. 2. Karen's stepdaughter wants to live in the city and in my house, so as family we don't have to pay each other. She's broke and jobless, and Karen wants to stay so she can supervise me. 3. My dad isn't involved because he is a peacekeeper. He doesn't get angry quick and avoid doing things that makes him regret later. Now for the top comments. Not a home. What kind of adult invites themselves into someone else's home? That's weird on the surface and more so given your history. You decided to help your stepmom, so tell this other lady that she's not welcome to live there. But hey, Bio Mom said that if Opie doesn't kick out Jane, Opie wouldn't see Karen again. Like, where's the downside here? Sometimes the trash takes itself out. She said she and her stepdaughter would move in a week later to choose the rooms. Not stay whole and she can piss off. Why does she think she can move into a place she did not pay for at all and was not invited? Also, why does your dad react like this? He is the type of person who would stay calm and won't let anger take over. Not stay home. Your stepmom is clearly more of a mother to you than your birth mother. Also, your birth mother's logic is flawed. She may have brought you into this world, but that was her choice and not yours. And when you bring a child into this world, you then have a responsibility to take care of them. And she did not fulfill that responsibility. Your stepmom, however, did raise you, so it's perfectly fair you'd want her to move in with you instead of the egg donor. Next story. Am I the a-hole for selling my house to get away from my sister? I took in my pregnant sister when she was almost homeless, kicked out by her boyfriend, father of the baby. We weren't close, but I let her into my home because I didn't want my nephew to be homeless. The agreement was I took her in for 3 months and she would find a job and find a place to live in that time. Almost a year later, she hasn't left, and I'm stuck paying for her and her son. Even worse, she recently got back together with a boyfriend that kicked her out, but hasn't forced him to pay any child support, so I'm paying for everything. He is a stinky, disgusting a-hole who I banned from the house, but my sister keeps sneaking him in when I'm out. I can't afford it as I have a good job, but I'm sick of her mooching off me when she could find a job, but hasn't even sent out a single resume. She has had depression in the past and is probably depressed now, and so she begged our mom to speak to me on her behalf, who keeps telling me when I let her into my home I signed an obligation for life to take care of her son. I'm also single without children, so in her eyes I don't have any obligations now but to take care of her grandson. I've been looking for a better job for a while and I just found one. It's a work-from-home job, but I can't imagine working with my sister around. So I told her I'm selling the house and moving states and she has 2 months to move out. Now all I'm getting is phone calls from my mother and other family members who know they have to take care of my sister if I leave, begging me to keep taking care of her. She's screaming at me for leaving her on the streets, but I can't wait for February to come early enough. But I feel kind of guilty looking at my nephew who is going to suffer because both of his crappy parents. and probably is going to end up like them. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. Tell your mom to take your sister in then. Also, you said the agreement was 3 months. Where the heck did your mom pull that for life out of? Her butt? Well, shove it back where it comes from. There is only so much you can help until it starts to affect you. Doesn't matter if it's mental/physical/financial. Protect yourself before you try to help others. Yep. Hey mom, when you gave birth to sister, you took an obligation for life. I think parents forget they're still parents even after the child turned 18. Not today, home. Your mom can take them in if she feels so strongly. You're not your sister's parent. Housing them for a few months is not an obligation for life. Block your mom and enjoy your new place. Not stay home. Your nephew has parents and grandparents and many others who can step in and help. You telling your sister she can stay with you for a couple of months isn't a lifetime obligation to pay for her and her child. They have rights because they are living there, but you're under no obligation to allow that to continue. Selling the house seems extreme, unless that's something you want to do regardless, but you should absolutely talk to a lawyer and begin eviction proceedings. Your sister is an adult. It needs to take responsibility for her actions and her child. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for yelling at my mom that I hate Harry Potter and to let me live my own life? As my title suggests, my mom is a huge Harry Potter nut. She and my dad actually met in Harry Potter IRC, like Discord but for old people, in the early 2000s. Got married, had kids, and from day one decided to embarrass us for life by naming us after some Harry Potter and Star Wars characters. It's honestly been hell. I have a stupid name, and since we were little, my parents have forced stuff like Harry Potter, Star Wars, Marvel movies, etc. down our throats. Everything is about dragons and magic and blah blah blah. I'm so sick of it. Every birthday, every holiday, everything is just organized around fandom. So just like every Christmas, the days leading up to Christmas we have to sit down every night and watch Harry Potter movies. It's so freaking boring. I can usually get away with knitting or drawing on my iPad during this, but this year my mom was like, let's just have a technology and distraction free every night. I arranged to go over to my friend Missy's house instead for like 2 nights. Missy's family is normal and likes things a normal amount. But my mom got really mad and started talking about how it's a family tradition and how I'm basically rejecting her and went on her whole thing about how you wouldn't exist if it wasn't for Harry Potter. I finally had it and just yelled, nobody cares that you were a big name at the Harry Potter fan club. I don't like Harry Potter. I don't like Star Wars. I hate Marvel movies. They're all so boring. So please just let me have my own interests. I couldn't help it. I started crying because I was just so frustrated because everything always has to be about Harry Potter this, Star Wars that. And now that we're all older, they started doing Game of Thrones. Everything is centered around some kind of movie or TV show or book series. Just once, I want my family to bond around something that doesn't have to do with media or these nerdy things. We live in Utah where we have like 5 national parks. And even though I ask every year for my birthday, I've never been to Arches. Well, my sister called me saying that mom was angry and to just come home and to stop with the theatrics. I told her that I'm sick of having all this old nerd stuff crammed down my throat. And just once I want to have a normal time, watching normal Christmas movies, and not having a pause for lightsaber battles. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole, and your post is a great warning for all those people still thinking about naming their kid Anakin or Khaleesi. You're allowed to have your own interests, and your parents aren't making life easier by forcing things they like on you. Not the a-hole, but that IRC comment cut me to the core, and now I feel old. The sheer psychic damage reading that line KO'd me where I sat. As a huge Harry Potter fan myself, you are not the a-hole. You have to be able to grow up and have your own interests. Do you think your parents would be open to family therapy? This. I have a few fandoms I'm into. Harry Potter being one, Supernatural being another. I will definitely buy all of the things when I see it, but I don't push it on my daughter. Although she does know about my interests and will point out things she sees that I would like. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not telling my estranged extended family when I got a new phone number and ruining their Christmas? So here's a little backstory. I, 36 female, haven't been in contact with my extended family in years. Not for lack of trying, but when I did used to reach out, I was either ignored or blown off as an annoyance. Well, I got a new number last year, and it's been so long they never crossed my mind to inform. Suddenly now, some of these extendeds decided to finally reach out, and upon me not immediately answering their calls and texts, decided to lose their flipping minds. I'm currently out of state, and yesterday evening I got a frantic call from my husband, saying some of my family members showed up at our house and left a note on our door while he was out. One of our neighbors came over and told him they wandered all over the outside of our house banging on the windows, and quickly left when she came out to question them. The note they left was ridiculously long, but to summarize, there was a family emergency and how I had better call them ASAP. My husband tried to call and text them before calling me, but they hung up on him when he said he was my husband. So I ended up calling to see what the hell was going on. The second I answered, my family lit into me, calling me every name in the book. Finally, when I was able to get a word in and ask what the emergency was, I almost had a conniption. This grand emergency was the day before one of my uncles texted my old number that I was to come to his house for Christmas, and that he would take no excuses. He texted this at 4 a.m., and when I didn't answer, he sent a barrage of texts, telling me I had no choice and that my cousins would come get me the following day, whether I like it or not. Amazing, colorful language about what I'm doing with my spare time was included. With no immediate answer to that, he apparently called everyone and had them mass call and text my old number because I was obviously just being a witch and ignoring them. Well, apparently the person that now has my old number didn't like that everyone and their left sock was blowing up their phone. Apparently, they contacted several of the family members and they would be contacting the police about this harassment. I told them they brought it on themselves because of their extreme overreaction. They tried to talk over me, but I cut them off, pointing out their lack of communication for all these years was okay, but no reply from me at the crack of the morning is unacceptable apparently. They then told me I was a selfish witch that ruined their Christmas. I ended it soon after that and called my husband to fill him in on everything. He was understandably pissed as well. I plan to call my old number in the morning and apologize to them for the trouble, and possibly get copies of the text to get a restraining order when I return home. I'm so upset and utterly enraged by this behavior from them, and I don't think I am, but I do have to ask, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. You should probably change your number again now. These people sound terrible. Definitely not the a-hole. I have a question though. Is there no one on that side of the family who knows how to reach you? Isn't there a parent or a sibling these wackos could have called and said, I hope you didn't return my text. Is she okay? If you do and they still acted this way, I have no words. The fact they want this level of crazy means they probably burned more than a few bridges that lead to OP. Not the a-hole, and do not delay on that restraining order. It is very strange that they would come to your house and knock when no one is there, peep through the windows, but leave as soon as they saw the neighbor. Something is very fishy there. Were you due for kind of inheritance from an older relative? It's possible that there's been a death in the family that you are not aware of. They might be trying to attempt to force you out of it by getting you alone. This is what I think. What, after all these years, would make them this desperate to see OP again? Money would be one of my first guesses. OP, you need to find out if a relative has recently died, or if you're the recipient of some sort of bequest. Given all these people's wacko behavior, I can see someone deciding to leave everything to the only sane person in the family. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for ordering meals for my children when we go out with friends? My husband and I have 2 children, 19 and 17. We go out with our friends, 2 other couples, every other week, and then on the weeks we do not go out with them, we have a date night and then a family dinner out. We always get separate checks, so each couple pays for their own food/drinks. We find it is just easier to do it that way. On the weeks that we do not take the kids, or ask if they can come in the 19-year-old's case since they work, we always have them look at the menu to see if they want us to order them something and bring it home. We have been doing this for the last 5 years since the kids were old enough to not need a babysitter, and it has never been an issue until now. The only time we do not order them anything is when we have plans after dinner, such as a concert or movie. A new couple joined our group for dinner. They are friends of another couple we go out with, and we had never met them prior to Saturday night. We decided on sushi for dinner, So we showed both kids the menu online and asked if they wanted us to pick them up something to bring home. They each decided on 2 rolls. At the end of our meal, my husband ordered the rolls for the kids and let the server know that they were for takeout and to put them on our check. The wife of the new couple got a little huffy and told us that it was rude for us to order more food when everyone was getting ready to leave, and basically said it was trashy of us to get doggy bags for our kids when none of the other couples had. My husband told her that we do this all the time, and that if they wanted to leave, nothing is stopping them from doing that. The next day I got a text from my friend saying that this new couple did not enjoy going out with us, and that we embarrassed them, the new couple but not our friends, at the restaurant by ordering takeout food for our children. I asked my friend if she had a problem with us doing that as they had never said anything to us before, and she said no, but she does not want fighting within the group. So she asked that we not order takeout anymore for the kids if this other couple was going to be dining with us. I told my friend that it was rude to ask us not to do this, especially considering that we have always done it without issue, and that maybe we just did not need to go with them when they dined with this other couple since they did not like being around us. So are we the a-holes? That new couple should just mind their own business. You getting takeout has nothing to do with them. I can't even imagine what kind of alternate reality they live in to think that it would be trashy. Not stay home. Agreed. I think the couple felt embarrassed that they weren't also taking something home for their kids, and that they were made to look trashy. Ridiculous. You should be able to go out with grown adults and not all do the same thing. The only thing trashy would have been to order for the kids and put it in one bill that was split between everyone. This overreaction is so strange, including their old friends not wanting them to do it either, that I wonder if Opie is not telling the truth about how they split checks. The story would make sense if they equally split a single check. I think we're just in a strange time where no one is allowed to do anything if it upsets even one person's feelings, even if said person is overreacting and being ridiculous. Am I the a-hole for not giving my parents money for their new grandchild? Hi, 27 female. I'm a married woman and pregnant with 2 girls. When I was younger, my mom and dad always compared me to my sister, their golden child. I never had a birthday party or even got a gift, and if I did, I would have given it to my sister. Pretty much if I wanted a present, I would have to get money for it myself. As soon as I got a job, my parents said I had to start paying rent and getting food for breakfast, lunch, and dinner if I wanted to eat. So I had to work for everything I wanted. At the age of 18, my parents kicked me out and I went to live with my boyfriend to whom I am now married to, and we now have a 5-year-old and twins on the way. So, my parents were never there when my oldest was born or when I got married, but they were there when my sister got married and had her baby. She also still lives with my parents and her husband, and neither of them have jobs to support themselves. One day, my mom and dad invited me, my husband, and our oldest to their house for Thanksgiving. My parents started the conversation off by saying how beautiful their grandchild was, and how much prettier my sister was compared to me. My mom said, "Since your pregnancy, you've been starting to look old. Look at your sister. She still looks like she's 14. My husband got visibly uncomfortable with the comment she made. We were just about to leave when my dad asked me if I could give him some money or they would end up homeless. I asked him, "How do you not have any money for the house? You earned a lot when you were a doctor." He said that my sister used it for expensive stuffs for herself and a baby. I replied angrily, "Why should I even give you a cent when you never cared to waste at least one on me?" The whole room went silent, and full of rage, me and my husband left the house and went back home. Most of my family members decided to call me and yelled at me for not helping them, even though they never cared about me. My sister later on called me too, to tell me that I was being a spoiled brat, that I couldn't even help them a little, and that I don't need all the money I have. I just hung up and blocked everyone who was bashing me online. So, am I the a-hole? Extra info. Dad is retired, mom is a teacher, and like I said, sister and brother-in-law don't work. Also, dad has 1 kidney so can't go back to work. Sorry, should have asked if, am I the a-hole for not giving my parents money even though they will end up homeless? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. Your parents are real a-holes. I'm sorry for you. You need to cut these people out of your life for good. They are not family. Sounds like the sister didn't fall far from the tree. Surprised you even went over there for Thanksgiving. Not the a-hole. I really don't know what was going through my mind then. Hope for having a supportive, loving family always catches us the first time. You've built yourself a beautiful, loving family with your husband and your children. Remember that whenever you need to deal with them. Next time you hear from your parents or sister, let them know you are happy to catch up with them. When they come with their hands open, tell them your time, energy, and money is tied up furthering your children's future. Not the a-hole at all. Family is, though. Your parents indulged your sister and her now spouse, taught her nothing, and relied on you for way too much growing up. I'm sorry to say, but sometimes we need to cut ties with people in our lives that simply don't bring us any good. Your parents and sister are completely clueless to their issues and the situations they have put themselves in. And unless they can acknowledge the past and fix the present, you are just going to constantly be put in these situations which will take a toll on your mental health and well-being. Sometimes it is simply better to cut the ties that bind us from such toxic people. If they're about to lose the house, there are 2 able-bodied persons living with them that can work and pay rent, and then some. Not your problem and not your issues. Best of luck and hope you have beautiful, healthy babies. Next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my stepkids Disney tickets away? 2 months ago, I told my oldest stepdaughter, 18, that I needed her to request this weekend off because we were celebrating our Christmas and the boys' birthdays. I even texted their mother and made arrangements for my youngest stepdaughter, 14, and she acted like she was on board with it. We have this ongoing issue with my stepkids about them only coming over when we were doing something fun. Every time I try to get them and just spend time with them at the house, they make up every excuse in the book why they cannot come. I purposely did not tell them or my kids what the plans were this weekend. The oldest couldn't get off of work, so I told her, it's cool, we will do something for her later on. No big deal. I understand how it is working retail during the holidays. Today, I texted their mother to confirm if the youngest was coming over tomorrow, and she said she had a long week and was really emotional and did not want to go to our house without her older sister. Total BS. She doesn't even like her sister like that, and she's been to our house plenty of times without her sister. Just another excuse on why she cannot come. Mind you, it's my hubby's court-ordered weekend with her anyways. We don't make her come over, so we just get her whenever she wants to come over. So, I texted their mom back and said, no big deal, we will do something else with them another time. Then, the oldest stepdaughter texted me a little while ago asking what we're doing, and told her we are spending the weekend at Disney and another event. I told her so she wouldn't be surprised when photos are posted this weekend. Now, all of a sudden, she wants to call out of work, and my other stepdaughter wants to come without her sister now. Lol. I told them, I'm sorry. I gave the boys' friends those tickets because y'all didn't want to come over. I really did. So now they're angry, and a part of me doesn't feel bad for the youngest. The oldest is understandable because she actually has a good excuse, but I do not want her calling off work because she's on the verge of getting fired already for her attendance. Hubby wants to cave in and let her come, but I don't want to because I'm over her only wanting to see us when we're spending money on her. I want this to be a lesson to the youngest, and he doesn't see it that way. I gave her an opportunity to come, and she didn't want to. So, tough luck. Am I the a-hole? Edited Duet. Before anyone says I'm being unfair to my stepkids, I treat my bio kids the same way. My oldest child has this fair share of missing out on events. He knows better now. Lol. So when I say get in the car and let's go, don't question it. Just get in. It's not a game I'm playing. Over the years, I just got tired of feeling used. The only time they want to come over is when we're doing something, or they want something. That's why I stopped telling them what we were doing. My husband is cheap and doesn't care for fun things, so I plan and pay for just about everything we do that's fun. We all have a good relationship, and they are growing older and they rather be with friends, so we are trying to give them the space to do that. But before oldest stepdaughter got a job, we would try to plan things with them, my kids included. And it just became a, can we go here instead? And complaining about everything, so that's why now if I want to do something, I don't tell them plans. I just ask them if they are coming, and if they don't, then they stay home. All of the kids are in different age groups, so I try to plan things for each child and invite the others. But that's been extremely difficult because of the complaining. Not stay whole. You ask them to make time to celebrate holidays and your son's birthdays as a family. That wasn't important to them until they found out how you'd be celebrating. I'm glad your sons get to celebrate their special days with people who actually value their company. So 18-year-old should just risk getting fired because Opie wants her to take extra time off without properly explaining? It is not mentioned how close the 18-year-old is with step-siblings. Holidays in itself can be done at another day. I mean, he knows better now and gets in the car when I tell him to. No questions asked. How in God's green earth is that any way to treat anyone? Never mind an 18-year-old with a job. Learn how to read. 18 said no, so Opie said that it was okay with her. She's already on the verge of getting fired. She should focus on her job instead. Not stay whole. Simple thing is, the stepchildren don't want to spend time with their family unless they directly profit off of it. They had their chance to spend time with Opie and family, who made it clear they all wanted to spend time with the two stepdaughters. They didn't want to, which makes it fair to pass that opportunity on to someone else that actually wants to spend time with them. In this case, son's friends. You can't reject the cake and eat it too. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my neighbors to be more considerate? My neighbors are a young couple in their 30s, Annie and Bill. They've had a baby a couple months ago, and the baby just came home last month after 3 months at hospital. My wife is friendly with Annie. We can't have children, so whenever we have a neighbor with a baby, my wife makes friends with them. We have my mom also staying with us as she's no longer able to live independently. My mom has complained several times that she can hear the baby crying, especially at night. My wife says the baby has bad reflux, and they're trying to deal with it. The baby screams several times a day, and it's awful listening to the poor thing crying for so long. It does feel like they aren't dealing with the baby as quickly as they should be. The baby screamed for 10 minutes solid the other night. My wife says that the baby screams when they bathe it, as Annie has told her that the baby doesn't like being bathed. Baby is always crying and it's frustrating, especially when my mom needs peace and quiet to recover from surgery. Since the baby has come home, there is no longer any room in our street during the day as we have an on-street parking. This is making it difficult to get mom to appointments as she can't walk to the end of the street to get her in the car. But we also can't park in the middle of the road as it blocks the road and can take over 10 minutes to get her in the car due to mobility issues. There had always been at least one empty bay outside our house, but now it is always occupied by either someone from their families visiting or one of the healthcare professionals involved in the baby's care. I reached a breaking point this weekend. Mom had been home alone all day and she was in tears when I got home from work, while wife was away visiting friends. She said the baby had been screaming all day long. It was still crying when I came home. I went and knocked on Bill and Annie's door to ask if they could quieten the baby. I could see through the frosted glass that Annie was sat on the bottom of the stairs, not even trying to calm the baby down. When she came to the door, she apologized and said she had been trying to calm the baby down, but the new medication was making him constipated and he was training to poo. She had Bill gone to pick up an emergency prescription to try and help. I snapped, as she clearly hadn't been trying as she was on the stairs, and told her that they need to be more considerate of others, and if she didn't quieten the baby, then I would log a noise complaint with the police. Annie was upset at this and closed the door in my face. When my wife came back, she told her what I had said. Now my wife is angry with me, as I was making life difficult for a young couple with a sick baby, and is giving me the silent treatment. I feel like I may be in the wrong because of how my wife has reacted, but at the same time, the baby is always crying, and I think they need to be more considerate of their neighbors. Now for the top comments. I'm going to get hate for this, but thank God you can't have kids. Your lack of empathy and inability to sympathize are outrageous. Real babies aren't like dogs or dolls. I would hate to see how you would have treated your wife or your own child. No hate here. A few times my husband came home to both me and baby crying. Opie, you're the a-hole. From the other side, I came home more than once to my wife and baby both crying. Can't imagine what it would be like to be the stay-at-home for the first couple of years. You're the a-hole. On-street parking means it's game for anyone, even if it's an inconvenience to others. Filing a noise complaint because of a crying baby is ridiculous. I actually hope you do, and you come back here and tell us how big of a laughingstock you are for doing so. Expecting someone to be able to magically stop a baby from crying that has health issues is also unreasonable. That's not how babies work. Just because the baby was crying when you went over to make your ridiculous demand and wasn't being held, doesn't mean the parents aren't actively trying to soothe their child, and instead are taking a moment to catch their breath, as reasonable parents and people oftentimes do when things get stressful. Agreed. And like, if the parents could quiet and soothe their baby, does he think they wouldn't? If it's hard to listen to a crying baby through walls, imagine how much harder is it for the parents who have the added stress of worry and helplessness. OP, you're the a-hole on so many levels. Last story. Am I the a-hole for scolding my sister in front of everyone while she's going through a divorce? Myself, 29 female, and my husband, 36 male, went to visit both our parents. They live 8 hours away from us by flight, and it was expensive. But we do it because holiday means a lot, and also to see my niece Rue, 5 female. She's my world, and I love her to death. For this vacation, her mom, my sister Mila, 29 female, was missing for most of our family gatherings and was spending time with her boyfriend and doing part-time job. We have a good relationship, but was really worried that Rue doesn't get time with her mom, and angry that she just leaves her with all of us. She leaves in the morning and comes home late. Apparently, this has been going on for months. For brief context, she is separated from brother-in-law, and she wants a divorce while he wants to try. But she came home because they were not compatible. And it's messy. So, since she is a single mother, I send her allowances for her and Rue, and also for other housing expenses directly to her so she can give our parents rent and focus on Rue and have a smooth divorce. I send her a total of 10 grand and my fun money account, which she has access to and uses. She sees a therapist and I get charged for this as well. Additionally, my husband pays for divorce lawyers. We both work hard and are not rich, but we are good enough. I know it's not easy what she is going through, and have never questioned her when there are withdrawals. But this holiday, I was so mad at how she is and who she is turning into. According to Mom, Rue is missing her mom and has withdrawn so much. She has not been giving them rent, and not helping around the house and doesn't even take care of Rue. Mom works, and Dad looks after Rue until Mom comes. They're also old, and cannot really actively interact with her. My mom was upset at me for not helping Mila out financially, as they are also struggling with 4 mouths to feed. I have never been angry as I was then. I observed her for a week, and the second week I confronted her privately. She said being a single mom is hard, and she's distressing. I called BS and told her what she has been doing with the money, but I'm glad she's working part-time. But what is she doing with Rue when she's comfortable? And even more angry that none of the money I give is going towards Rue or helping with her. She stormed out of the room and said I am ruining the holidays and being judgmental when she's going through so much. I told her how dare she say that after I give her everything, even when I don't have money left to buy new clothes for Christmas because I thought it was worth it. And if she doesn't stop and focus on Rue, then the money stops. I was so mad I forgot everyone could hear us. All our parents heard it. I felt so awful for exposing all this, but I was so mad. She called me an a-hole. And so did my brothers, saying I should have picked a different time. Now that I'm calm, I feel like an a-hole for exposing her like that. Vacation has been awkward since. Not the a-hole, but OP, stop the money now and give it to your parents instead. You gave the money to her in good faith that she would use it for her daughter, but she hasn't. You didn't ruin the holidays. She did with her greed. Not the a-hole, and for the comments of the parents, I wouldn't even give the parents money. I trust them to handle it, but I have the feeling that Mila will somehow talk them an ear off to get the money. Make something like a trust fund for Rue. She asked for the money, and I agreed until she gets back on her feet. The others we paid because she is my sister after all. But I'm so scared she might spiral if we took the money away from her, even more than she is now. The codependency is strong in this one. Therapy you need. In all seriousness, you are not responsible for her misbehavior. And in fact, you may be simply prolonging the inevitable. She needs to fall on her butt sooner rather than later, so she can pick herself up and fix the mess that is her life. It is not your job, nor responsibility, despite how much you love and care for her. She's taking advantage of everyone's good nature and their empathy to her situation that she got herself into. There's never a good time to address matters like this. You forced an opportunity and that's absolutely okay. It's not just about her, it's also about you. You have given her too much already to continue being a heel. Congratulations for standing up to her and calling her out. first story is titled, Am I the a-hole for pressing charges against my mom? I'm not sure if the title is the right way to word it, but hear me out. I, 21 female, found out 5 days ago that my mom, 50 female, lied to me about my tax refund last year and had the money direct deposited into her bank account. She and I are not on talking terms, as she borrowed $200 from me in early January and refused to pay me back, even though this is the only time I've ever asked for it back. Since we are not talking, I had to attempt to file my taxes on my own now. She's always done my family's, 28 female, 30 female, and I taxes. So when it was rejected because I couldn't remember my AGI for 2020, I had to request a transcript to figure it out. Although, I ended up finding out I had received quite a large refund in the account it was deposited in. Immediately, I called her to ask her what the hell? Why did you do this? She declined. I texted her several times, no response. I called my oldest sister, 30 female, to try and get in contact with her that I need to talk to her ASAP. Mom then blocks her and blocks me across social media. That all happened last Friday. So coming to this last Monday, I called the IRS, panicking and trying to figure out what I should do. Can I even do anything? Lady on the phone guides me to fill out some forms and contact the Federal Trade Commission with identity theft, although I don't know if that's what it is. I fill out all sorts of stuff and to file a police report. I called my oldest sister again. She says it's not going to go anywhere, waste of my time, etc. And I'm just going to ruin my relationship with mom. My other sister is fully supportive and encourages me to do what I feel like I need to do. Coming to yesterday, I went to the police station and gave them copies of all my paperwork, proof money went into her account, her info, etc. The detective called me and let me know they have everything they need and are going to arrest her, and suddenly I feel bad. Should I just let it go? My refund was nearly $2,000, and I could have really used it as I had just been laid off due to COVID-19 at the time. My oldest sister's kind of at my throat, and I don't know what to do. I've given her over $5,000 over the last 3 years and feel like she just used me even more than she already was. Am I the a-hole? Edited to add, my mom did get my stimulus checks as they were both mailed to me. Also, I understand that I should have checked her doing my taxes. I was 19 at the time and didn't expect my mom to do me like that. I simply believed her. I'm glad you guys were also smart and knew better at that age. I made a mistake, I get it. There is a chance she stole more. I didn't realize my federal returns and state returns were separate, and I only know the Fed amount. We'll be figuring out the state amount on Monday. If you ask, and no, I don't live with her. I haven't since I was 16. Also, I've done a credit freeze and everything on my credit report is things I've done or accounts I have open. Thanks so much though. Now for the top comments. Not a hole. What the hell? She stole your money. You tried to talk to her and figure it out, but she refused. It is then on her to deal with the consequences. Good that you reported her, and shame on your sister for enabling your mom's behavior. Jumping on the top comment to add, don't back down and continue with the charges. She needs to learn her lesson. $2,000 is quite a bit of money to just be out of, especially right now. Yes, $2,000 stolen secretly from you by someone who then blocks your calls is a serious matter. But it also may not be the end of it. You don't know if she's stolen your identity and taken out loans in your name. You don't know what she may be doing and she won't talk to you. You are not ruining this relationship. If allowing someone to steal from you with no consequences is what it takes to maintain a relationship, it's not a relationship worth maintaining. Press charges, OP, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole? You aren't ruining the relationship by filing the report. She ruined it by stealing your identity and $2,000 from you. Try $7,000. Not the a-hole. You'll want to contact the Social Security Administration about getting a new Social Security number. Your mom has proven she can't be trusted and may use your financial information for her own gain. You need to make sure she can't do that in the future. I have my social card and my birth certificate, and I put a freeze on my credit and stuff. She hasn't taken anything out in my name yet, but I will call them about it. Thank you so much. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my father the true reason I never had friends growing up? First, let me apologize in advance for any grammar mistakes I might make. English isn't my native language. I come from a family of Japanese immigrants. My grandparents came to my country when my father was still a teen. Here is where he met my mother, got married, and where I was born. As a child, I was never a kid to have many friends, or any for that matter. Most people always thought that it was just a personality trait, but that's far from the truth. My father was a rough and stern man, and there's no way around it. Ever since I was young, his family and himself always tried to push certain things onto me. How I should behave, how I should be, how much effort I should put in my things and all that. Once I enrolled in school, things got progressively worse. He always pushed me to be the top of my classes, even when grades didn't really matter. I remember once, when I was roughly 8, I had a test. The subject was my native language, and I did score well. It was roughly 75%. I was having a hard time with it and struggling. That was the first time I was grounded for not being up to his standards. This was just the first of many to come. For him, anything less than a 95%, we don't use letter grades here, was not a good result, and I was punished/disciplined accordingly. I won't get into what happened, as this isn't the place for that. Regardless, as cliche as this might sound, yes, I see the irony of it all. I became extremely introverted and would spend all my time studying. Not because I liked it, but because I was afraid of what could happen should I not do well. This was my daily life from infancy until I went to college. There, I had a lot more freedom and could for the first time be myself. Thankfully, I met some amazing people that I'm friends with until today, and also the woman who I'm now engaged to. Regardless of that, I always resented my family because of that. Since then, I got into therapy and I've been working my feelings out, but it is a slow process. However, a few days ago, my family invited me and my fiancé for a dinner at their house. I really didn't have an excuse to avoid it, thus we went. Things were alright for the most of it, until they started to talk about the past, and my father said something like, "Oh well, B was never a very friendly child. He used to stay locked up in his room all day long." At that moment, I felt so bad about myself that I couldn't keep quiet anymore, and I ended up telling him the reason. That he was the reason I suffered so much. Apparently, that came as shock to him. He said that he only tried to make sure I was gonna have a good future. I ended up going home after an argument. But now, my family has taken to call me an ungrateful a-hole. My father hasn't said anything more than that. It's mainly everyone else. I can't help but feel bad about it. I could have probably kept that to myself. Anyway, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. And for what it's worth, I really didn't have an excuse to avoid it, thus we went. You don't need an excuse to decline invitations. Simply not wanting to go is sufficient. Glad to hear you're in therapy. Keep it up. It sounds like you're finally on a good path. You don't need an excuse to decline invitations. Simply not wanting to go is sufficient. Pfft, try telling that to my mother. Not the a-hole. You simply told the truth when your family was teasing you in front of your fiancé. It's basically another form of bullying from your father. You did what you needed to do. Stand up for yourself and stop his behavior. It doesn't matter what your father's intentions were in the past. He treated you poorly and bullied you, and he's still doing it. There's no excuse for that. He certainly doesn't have a good excuse now. Also, you don't need an excuse to decline going to dinner. A simple "sorry, can't," or "that doesn't work for me," or "no" is all you need. Not the a-hole. Especially if this is something you had to work through in therapy. Your family should know how their actions affected you. It sounds like they are the ungrateful ones. The next story is titled, "Am I the a-hole for telling my dad last that I'm not moving back to my hometown?" I, 20 female, moved away for college 2 years ago. This is going to be my final year. My dad expected me to move back to my hometown once I was finished because that's what his family does. They stay local, close to family, and that's it. But I knew I would be different. He and I don't have the best relationship, and I'm not at all close to his wife. So to me, a fresh start will be a really positive thing, and it has been. I told my grandparents and my aunt and uncle a while ago. My grandparents kind of knew. They brought it up that I was so much happier since I left, and I am. I am in a much better place. About a week ago, my dad asked me about moving back and told me my siblings missed me. They were on a video call, as was his wife, and that's when I broke it to him, because he was saying they had a planned trip in the summer and I could watch the kids for him. He was shocked, annoyed, and he hung up once he realized I was serious. Then he talked to my uncle and then my grandparents, and when he realized they knew, and my maternal family knew, he was super pissed. He felt like he should have been the first person I told and that we needed to discuss it. I told him there was nothing to discuss. That as an adult, I made a decision about where I live. He accused me of leaving my whole family behind, to which I replied I was near family, my mom's family. Things are still dicey, and I'm okay with that. They have never been so good that this would be really hard for me. But my aunt thinks I should have told him first, and before he brought it up. My dad said the same thing, so now I'm wondering if I did handle this badly. I think it was easier to tell everyone else first because I have more contact with them. I really don't talk to my dad all that much. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. You're an adult coming home from college, not a middle schooler coming home from summer camp. Do what you want. Seems like he just wanted free babysitting. He wants to believe we have no issues. He always wanted to believe that. So he has ignored all the problems and then gets annoyed when they become impossible to ignore, or when he's reminded I'm not from his marriage to his wife. At the end of the day, you are your own person. The worst part of growing up is seeing your parents as people and all the problems that people have. Seems like you have family in other places. I wish you luck, friend. Not the a-hole. It sounds like he wanted a free babysitter, not a kid. My thoughts exactly. Move back. The kids miss you. Wife and I will even go on a trip by ourselves this summer, so your kids get to catch up. Not the a-hole. Honestly, I relate to this post a lot. I'm from a small town where none of my family members have ever lived more than an hour away from. After graduating high school, I moved across the country for university, and I have no intentions of ever living there again. I also experienced a similar sentiment from my family of, "Oh, can't we just discuss you staying here?" But I've never been happier than I am here, and clearly you feel the same way. Don't let others make you question making decisions that bring you happiness. Your dad has his own life to live. He doesn't need yours too. As for telling him sooner, I'd understand why he'd be upset if you two were close, but clearly you're not. He can't be affronted because he didn't tell him when it seems like he'd put little effort into improving your relationship before then. He can't pick and choose when you two are close. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter the truth about why I wasn't in her life? To start, my ex and I were 19 when she got pregnant. We had recently broken up and she found out a couple weeks later that she was pregnant. She said she planned to get a termination, but only wanted her sister there. So I was always under the belief that she had terminated. She only contacted me once saying it was done, and we didn't speak again. Fast forward 19 years later, I found out a month ago that was a lie. My ex passed away 3 years ago and my daughter Kara has been living with her uncle. He was the one to reach out to give me a heads up after she expressed an interest in wanting us to connect. He and I spoke at length because I was feeling some pretty strong emotions like rage for never being told about her. My ex had backed out of the procedure but didn't want me involved because we were broken up, so decided just not to tell me. But he told me that Kara doesn't know about that. Apparently, I wasn't ready for fatherhood because we were both young, so I bailed. I couldn't believe it. Rob, her uncle, told me he knows his sister was wrong for that, but promised Kara doesn't have negative feelings towards me, and my ex never painted me as some villain, just a young guy who knew he couldn't properly care for her. He asked me not to tell Kara this when we talk if she asks, and because it could hurt the way she saw her mom. I never actually confirmed I would. Kara messaged me, and we've been talking. I've met her twice, and it's been crazy emotional. Looking at this girl who looks just like me, and hurting that we're just barely getting to know each other. So far, our conversations have only been about what her life was like, how my life is, what her wants/future goals are, and getting to know each other. We met again Tuesday, and she finally decided to ask the obvious questions about what made me not to be involved. How did I feel? What went through my mind? Did I ever think about her, etc.? I had been thinking about what to do, but in that moment, I just didn't have it in me to lie, so I was honest. That I was told about the termination and had no idea she even existed until now. But that I still really want to be in her life and have the chance to be her father if she wants that. Kara was a bit emotional. We talked some more, and said she still wants me involved. That night, my messages were blowing up. Not just from Rob, but her grandparents as well. They're all outraged for telling Kara about her mom because she yelled at all of them and is refusing to even take their calls. Yes, the lie was terrible, but I just ruined the image she had of her late mother for my own benefit. Rob called me a selfish prick for not taking into consideration how this would affect Kara finding out about this. So right now, I feel crap. I get honesty is the best policy, but in this case, I don't know if I was an a-hole for doing it. I'm still learning this whole dad business, so I don't know if I dropped the ball here. Not an a-hole. Your ex lied. Your ex created this mess. I'm sorry she has passed, but she did this. You have no obligation to continue a lie you had no part of. Your daughter deserved the truth. Exactly. Opie, you were the victim of someone else's long-term lie. Your daughter's uncle tried to coerce you to continue a lie that would only serve to hurt you, in favor of your daughter's mother. That is not fair to you. My advice is to keep your head down, avoid responding or stirring up more drama, and this too shall pass. Then you can continue building your own relationship with your daughter on your terms. Not a a-hole. You said fast forward 19 years later? So your daughter is 19 now. She's an adult and deserves to know the truth. You should not be expected to make yourself out to be a deadbeat dad just to avoid tainting the memory of her mother. Not an a-hole. Exactly. If she was 9, it wouldn't be appropriate, but an 18-year-old adult needs to know the truth. Not an a-hole. The people who lied to her for her entire life are to blame for her being upset at the lies. You are not obligated to take the heat for the lies of others. I do hope you are planning on staying in her life now. It would be terrible to drop that info and disappear. But if you stick around, she deserves to know the truth, so that your newly found connection isn't built on a lie from the start. I intend to be in her life. It makes me very sad that I already missed out on so much, and I want the opportunity to build something with her. It would be awful to just leave when there's finally a chance to be her father. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for my response when my co-worker called my husband useless? I, female 36, work at a company, and recently we had a new employee join our department, Pam. Most of my co-workers are moms. They suggested that we gather at lunch break and start conversations with Pam and get to know her more. Pam was friendly. We started talking about our typical day-to-day routine. When it was my turn, he answered saying that I wake up at 6 a.m. Clean up, make breakfast, get the kids ready, then take them to school. Then pick them up from school after work, then do chores, then clean, then do laundry. Pam interrupted me saying, "Wow, so your husband is one of those useless, overgrown man-children that women try to parent along with their children then?" And everyone was like, I was taken aback, but said, "Actually, my husband is severely disabled. He can't work or do chores or childcare." She made a face and replied, "Oh well, my point still stands that you're basically living as a single mother, except at least your husband is not entirely useless in this case. It does bring something to the table, which is social security disability benefits, I suppose. But I'm sure it doesn't make up for him being an absent father and husband due to his disability." I got extremely offended that she was talking about my husband, the love of my life and father of my children, like that. The ladies were like, "Oh my god." So I said I didn't appreciate how she spoke about my husband, but she shrugged, saying, "Well, I wasn't technically lying, right? With people like your husband, there's really no point of being married. If you're acting like a single mom, then might as well become one, or go look for a real partner." I just lashed out asking what the hell she was talking about. It explained the important role my husband still has in mind in my children's lives. I called her rude and disrespectful for how she was talking about him, and how she belittled him as a husband and a father, and told her that her remarks about my husband could be nothing more than projection on her part. She laughed and said, "My husband is a doctor. That much is enough. Need I say more?" I asked her if her husband cooks and cleans after he gets home, then looked at her eyes and said, "The tiredness in your eyes suggests that all housework and childcare fall on you alone, correct?" She was red in the face and got quiet, looked around, then got up and excused herself to the toilet looking upset. The lady said that Pam has her own beliefs/visions about disabled partners should be, which is understandable, and she was just giving her honest opinion. But I took it too far by humiliating her and assuming her husband isn't doing anything. But according to her reaction, the answer was clear to me. They thought I shouldn't have spoken to our new co-worker in a mean way, and should have taken what she said with a grain of salt as it wasn't personal. They wanted me to apologize, but I said I won't apologize for what I said, even if I was rude. My co-worker's argument is that they too received harsh comments from Pam, but didn't take it personally since they were venting about other husbands. Edit. Pam isn't the first one to say stuff like that about my husband. My own family did this as well as others, so that's why I wasn't too surprised by her judgment, but still got offended. Now for the top comments. Not stay home. What do your co-workers mean you humiliated her? Didn't she say the exact same thing about your husband before she knew he was disabled? I think you did nothing wrong. And then even after finding out about his disability, instead of backpedaling or having the decency to be embarrassed, she doubles down instead and dug the hole even deeper. Not stay home. Don't start none, won't be none. That's the big a-hole move here. She had plenty of opportunities to shut up before Opie resorted to shutting her up. Can't take it? Don't deal it. Not like Opie said anything about colleague's husband she didn't say about Opie's husband, and colleague went much further. Not stay home. So here's what you learned about Pam today. Pam is an ableist. She's also a judgmental hypocrite who likely has one by one destroyed each of your co-workers in one way or another, so often that they shrug and say that's how she is. Here's what you've learned about your co-workers today. Your co-workers accept judgmental behavior as that's the way it is, and protect her from being hurt. They have accepted her behavior to the point where she is okay to humiliate others, you, but if she gets embarrassed, they protect her. I don't consider what you said rude, and I wouldn't apologize. Looks like karma's already found her, but she didn't learn. Absolutely. I noticed other behavioral issues with her, and it was obvious she's only pretending to be nice, and has a completely different personality than what she's showing. I feel uncomfortable around her honestly, even before this conversation occurred. I think you hit a nerve about her husband. Her strong views came from somewhere. He may be a doctor, but I suspect he is a piss-poor husband, partner, and father. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not showing up for a dinner with my sister when I found out she was planning to set me up? I, 34 male, am a single dad of 2 amazing kids. My 18-year-old son and my 14-year-old daughter. 14 years ago, my fiancé and the mother of my children died suddenly, and it destroyed me. She was my everything. We were supposed to grow old together, raise our babies together, share a life. She was my best friend for 15 years and my love for 6. After she died, my family expected me to date again, find love again, marry someone, and find another mother for my kids. But I have never had any interest in meeting someone else. I focus on being a good dad and enjoying my life the best that I can. I never wanted to move on, and I don't feel like that's something that will ever happen for me. About 2 years after my fiancé died, though, my sister started getting pushier. She told me I needed to find someone who could make me happy, that I deserved better than staying single for the rest of my life. I told her that it's my choice, and if that's what feels right to me, then it's what I'll do. For the most part, she lets it go once I say no, but she brings it up often enough that it has affected our closeness. 2 years ago, we stopped talking for months after she brought my kids into this plot to set me up, and was disappointed they didn't want to take part in it. When I found out, I was furious, and I thought that was the last of it when we reconciled because she saw I was willing to not speak to her, and her apology was the most genuine it had ever been. But then last week she told me she wanted to hang out. We were supposed to go to dinner in her favorite place. But a few days before that, I found out she was actually trying to set me up with this woman she knows. Once I found out, I just refused to show up. That dinner was Thursday, and yesterday she was furious that I hadn't shown. She said they had been waiting for me. I asked her who they was, and she said she had brought someone along for me to meet. I told her I no longer trust her after this. My parents sent me a message last night that it was rude to be a no-show, and I should understand they just worry I'm putting my life on hold and denying myself happiness. Am I the a-hole? Wow, not a-hole. Your sister is not respecting your choice. I would not have showed up either. I don't think any of my family particularly like or respect my choice. The others push less because they know I will not tolerate someone trying to go against my boundaries and wishes. Apparently, I now need to stop talking to or seeing my sister because she will never learn. It's great that your kids get it and that take part in her plans. I don't get why she can't respect your choice. She doesn't get to decide what makes you happy. This all the way. It enrages me when people try to use kids in their idiotic plots. Particularly this one. Hey kids, want to help me get you a new mommy? No. Just hell no. Not the a-hole. You're not ready to date and they should respect that. I get that your family wants you to be happy, but this is not helpful at all. I also hate the implication that you can't be happy without a significant other. I know it bothers them that I spent my 20s and now into my 30s without a significant other or even dating. But you know, I'm living my life the way I want, and I don't see myself ever dating. But that should be my choice. I'm old enough to decide this for myself. Not today, home. My mom never dated after my dad passed. I asked her why once, and her answer had stuck with me through the years. I already had the best. Why would I want anything else? If you have met your soulmate, your life is complete, even if they have passed. I relate to that a lot. I was in love with someone who was truly my best friend, and we didn't get enough time. But she gave me the two people I love the most in the world, and I'm forever grateful for that. Next story. Am I the a-hole for asking my boyfriend to stop sharing everything with my sister? Hi, I'm 24 female and have been dating my boyfriend, 26 male, for 5 years now. We grew up together as neighbors, and were friends for a couple years before dating. I love him so much, and I want to marry him. His family's great and I adore them all. And it's great with my family too. He also formed a great relationship with my sister, 21 female. But the issue is that I think their bond is too close. My boyfriend and I live together, but he spends a lot of time with her. Albeit I'm sort of busy. I'm currently in grad school for engineering, so I have to go to my classes. My boyfriend works full-time. My sister is currently taking a gap year, but that 1 year has extended from when she was 18. She comes over when I'm in seminars/classes. They have tons of inside jokes and share the same sense of humor and taste in movies. It makes me feel left out. But when I try to include myself, they both stop being so enthusiastic and acting like it's super awkward to have me there. My sister and I were close growing up, but started drifting when I went to uni. When my boyfriend isn't there and I talk to her, she becomes kinda cold and sometimes says rude things. Once she told me to my face that I'm not good enough for him, that he deserves better, which made me cry for a couple days. He also gets her gifts for the most random achievements. Like he got her a present for making it through the week. Even though she doesn't do anything as she isn't currently working or trying to pursue a hobby or interest, she's just taking it easy. Her own words. Don't get me wrong, I'm glad my boyfriend and my sister are friends. But my major problem is that my boyfriend tells her everything. Literally everything. He tells her things he doesn't tell me and talks to her about me and our relationship. She knows all our issues and good parts, to a level of detail that I wouldn't even tell my closest friends or parents. She even knows the grades I got in my midterm/finals and what I think about my manager. I work part-time to contribute to our apartment, but I also get paid for my research, which goes towards our needs as well, which I feel is unnecessary for her to know since I didn't tell her myself. I asked him to step back a bit and stop telling her things about me and our relationship, but he was shocked and told me that I'm an a-hole for even requesting it. Now I feel guilty. So am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before the little update. Not the a-hole, but I'm 90% certain your sister and boyfriend are hooking up while you're in class. I'm 100% certain. I reserve 10% that they're just having an emotional affair, but sister at the very least would like it to be more. And when it tells you that someone deserves better than their current partner is talking about themselves. Not the a-hole. They're both grossly out of line, and are at minimum having an emotional affair. Kick them both to the curb. I don't see how this is salvageable. I wrote way too many lines in my judgment where emotional affair would have cut it. Think you hit the nail on the head. Who is he in a relationship with? You or your sister or both? There are so many red flags here that I would be taking a serious look at your relationship. Keeps OP for money and the sister is a side chick to bang when OP is at home at this point. The level of we know each other very well is very unsettling, and it sounds like an emotional affair. However, I think there is more to it. Opie needs to take a step back and find out. Edit. Thank you all for your responses and advice. You've literally made me reconsider everything that I thought I knew. The consensus is that there is something shady going on with my boyfriend and my sister, which just makes me want to vomit. I'm now reading into every interaction and conversation, and I feel so naive for not noticing the red flags. I'm going to take your guys' suggestions and set up some nanny cams in my apartment. Either way, it'll be good security. If nothing happens, then it'll be reassuring. And if something does happen, well, I'll deal with that after. I'm going to drive to the store right now to pick up the cameras. I'll try to update soon, hopefully with positive news. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my husband to suck it up? I am the main caregiver of our baby, 6 months old. I deal with a lot, including a medical condition that occasionally paralyzes me from neck down. It can take a few hours until I can move my hands when it happens, and sometimes even a whole day. My legs take longer. For the last 2 weekends, suddenly my hubby gets a high fever. No other symptoms, no COVID we checked, and claims he is too sick to even watch the baby for a minute while I pee. Last weekend I gave him all the space he needed, went to my folks' house, and took care of him every few hours when my parents watched the baby. I was frustrated, but I understood. During the week he was okay again, worked till late and acted normal. Yesterday, a few hours after I started getting paralyzed, he suddenly broke with a low fever again, crying out that he is sick and he can't take care of the baby. With only one arm working, I took care of the baby all night long, terrified that it would go paralyzed as well. Whenever I begged for help, like change his diaper or make him a bottle, he yelled at me and got mad. This morning I lost all my limbs again, and my jaw was stuck for an hour. After that, while he complains that he's too sick and I need to handle the baby all day, I yelled at him to suck it up and take care of his child because it is not safe at all. I can't move my fingers. How can I keep a baby from falling, or feed him, or help him at all? He got really offended, saying I should be more compassionate to his fever and how cold he feels, and that I should find a way to unparalyze myself so he can sleep. I got even more mad, considering how many doctors told me that I cannot stress myself out of it, or it gets worse. He also said I am the a-hole, since it seems like I don't believe his mild fever is as severe as my condition. Am I the a-hole for not agreeing with him and telling him to take some responsibility for his child? Edit. My paralysis happens every few months, and I know an hour beforehand that something is wrong. I always call my husband or my emergency babysitters. I have a few. It only happened once before today since the birth, and I wouldn't give birth if it wasn't under some control. It is the first time in my marriage that he acts like this about my condition or the baby. I am not a neglectful parent just because I am disabled. I would contact family/babysitter before, but I couldn't move my fingers well enough to use the phone. I asked my hubby to call someone, but he refused because he was too cold. My sister-in-law came as soon as I managed to pick my phone up. I just needed him to watch the baby until then and after that. Not day home. It sounds like he's faking, honestly. He's fine during the week, but when he has to help with the baby on the weekends, he's sick? Even if he was faking, when you have a kid, the kid comes first. Sometimes you have to take care of the kid when you are sick or hurt. It just happens. Kids bring a lot of colds home and everyone at home catches them. Every parent has to take care of a kid when they feel like crap. It is how it works. The fact that he thinks he should get a pass because he has a fever, which is honestly the least crappy symptom he can have, even though his wife is paralyzed, is a sign he is a selfish a-hole and a bad parent. But if he gets a fever again, he needs to see a doctor. Recurring fevers are just not a normal thing. He certainly wouldn't want to pass anything along to the baby now, would he? This has to be rage bait. No one is genuinely that whiny and self-centered and absolutely stupidly careless. With a highly unlikely chance this is real, it'd obviously be not a hole. Your husband is absolutely useless. It is pretty obviously faking sick to get out of parenting. You don't have a partner. If you don't get a partner, what's the point of being married? Wish it was, really. I'm sitting here crying as this is not the man I married. Update. Thanks to your advice, I found the voice controls on my phone and can now use them. You had to talk with him without him yelling at me that he is cold and too sick to deal with me. I'll try to stay in another room tomorrow when I feel better.